Greetings and welcome to a Friday edition of the Shotgun Start. It is August 16th. Andy, how we doing?
Brendan, I'm doing great. It's like a victory Thursday for me.
Why is that? It's Friday. I just said it was Friday.
Everybody's crowning the great Luke Clanton. He's been impressive this summer, but it just wasn't ready to run into an Illini,
Oh, what happened? I have not been paying. Did Jackson Buchanan knock him off? What happened there?
Jackson Buchanan takes out the big bad wolf, takes him back to the woodshed.
He's not a big bad wolf. He seems like a great kid.
Well, the big kid we all want to get behind. Of the amateur golf,
He is number one. He did pass Gordon Sargent. There are a lot of questions about Gordon Sargent.
He wasn't number one today. Jackson Buchanan might have been the number one player today.
A lot of questions about Gordon Sargent, mumblings, rumors, grumbling. Like a kid, I don't know. He's a kid still, or I don't know. He's not Max Grazerman kid level, but he's still a kid. But people are starting to wonder, where does the game travel to, and how does it travel? But
I think it'll probably be pretty effective at a lot of PGA Tour courses. That doesn't matter what you do except for hit it, bomb it down there, and wedge it up there. But I think I was listening to I mentioned this last episode. I was listening to the Lawrence Donegan pod. College golf might be the pinnacle of golf courses and interaction. Like they play great golf courses, the big programs for the most part. Might be the pinnacle of golf.
Yeah, maybe.
College and
it's not the PGA Tour. The PGA Tour has too many entanglements and too many competing
shit.
stakeholders and junk.
Too many Craig Ranches and sod farms.
On Clanton, real quick, I didn't expect to lead off with this. I had someone grumbling to me today, getting mad that Christian Brand, who's like a former professional, has 70 plus KFT starts. I think he's in the round of 16 here. I guess he'd probably be a mid-am at this point. I don't know how old he is. He was a pro. He was a professional. Made some PGA Tour starts, a bunch of KFT. Didn't win a lot of money.
Well, this is what the USGA has determined.
But Andy, does that matter anymore? Luke Clanton is hawking Union Mortgage all over him. Had his company, had a sponsor send the private jet to North Carolina, the tour, to ship him up to Minnesota. I just don't know that it matters anymore. What's an amateur anymore?
I've heard some rumors about Gordon Sargent's Nike deal. Whew, it's a lot of money.
That was
like a lot of money.
That was my only rebuttal. A guy who won 160 grand in 70 KFT starts versus is like the one we're going to bitch about versus like, I'm not mad at Clanton either. It's just like, I don't know that there's a line or a barrier anymore.
I mean, I think what are amateur athletics? Like a good example would be like the good guys. Like, I mean, they're in a way professional golfers. They literally play golf for a living.
Coin. Yeah.
And they make a lot of money playing golf on YouTube. To be like that, I think this is just, amateurism is kind of dead. And while we call this the USAM, it's, the US soon to be pro.
Or former pro. Maybe. Yeah. I don't know. It's a murky line, I think,
And with a few earnest amateurs in the field. Like, who was the guy that shot 61?
The gas
Ellis,
man or whatever.
Ellis.
Yeah, he's the land guy. Yeah, love that guy from. I think he lives in Atlantic Beach or somewhere now. But that was he was a medalist. Good stuff.
Unbelievable story.
I don't have a problem with like players getting their money if they're worth I don't think the USAM is a big revenue generator for the USGA. I don't, this isn't one like the SEC or something or football sort of exploiting the labor of anything. But, these guys have a talent and they're getting compensated for it now via NIL. But anyways, it's hard to complain about the reinstated AM anymore, in my opinion. It gets a little more tricky now.
I think you can complain about the reinstated AM and the mid AM.
Yes, I would concur probably with that.
I'll never forget. Like when I played the Mid-Am, I was hitting balls next to Jess Daly, and Jess Daly was like a Northwestern star. I think he had a year on the PGA Tour. Played maybe like 8-9 years on the Korn Ferry Tour, or what was then the Web.com. And I'm hitting balls. I'm like, God, I didn't even play college golf really. And like I'm hitting balls next to this guy. It's like I work like that. We just aren't the same people here. Like our lives are just not at all similar. Like he spent 12, 15 years. Literally all he did was play golf, and it's like those reps just don't go away. It's not like you like lose that.
Different deal. Yeah.
Your mindset, like the things you get from it. So I don't know.
We'll take it up at Kinloch here in a month or two for the Mid-Am.
I don't really want to talk about Kinloch.
I'm talking about the Mid-Am in a month. That's where the Mid-Am is, I believe. Well, you can get in some guy's kitchen for coming back. Whip around Friday. Sanderson, I'm told, I was messaged by a friend of the program, Mississippi's own Will Bardwell, that demands you apologize. And it's almost in a way, almost compared to Ricky last week. Says Sanderson Farms is not walking away from Mississippi's PGA Tour event. Cargill is. Cargill is the largestly private held company in America. It has bought Sanderson Farms in 2021. And aside from that, it has no meaningful connection to Mississippi. It's not surprising that Cargill wouldn't share Sanderson Farms' Mississippi-centric perspective.
There's going to be no apology. There's no apology. If the Sanderson Farms people really cared about Mississippi and delivering them a PGA Tour event, they wouldn't have sold to Cargill.
They should have pre-anticipated that whole if they cared about their golf tournament.
Yeah, if they really cared about Mississippians and Will Bardwell, they wouldn't have sold out.
Next, great enthusiasm around our FedEx Cup pool. I'm going to throw in some bobbleheads from former FedEx Cup champions. I'm looking at I've got Furyk, Stenson, VJ. I think I gave Bill Haas away to someone as a gag gift already. I got rid of him. I have everybody but Haas and Horschel up to, I think, 2016. I've got Tiger and Rory and Spieth. Those are some blue chippers.
Can you do a little research on eBay? See if we can acquire a Bill Haas one for the pool.
Yeah, I'm on it. I'm on it right now.
I know we gave away Billy Boy. I'm not saying we're going to buy him. I just want to be presented with some cost options.
When do we walk away from the table?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Hospital. I'm saying $45.
25. I was going to say 25.
I've got VJ, Stenson. But anyways,
can you look into Billy Boy too? I wonder if we could get a sign. I wonder if we could get a signed Billy Boy if we can send it down.
We can get Bill Haas $18. Buy it now.
Do it.
Do it. Done.
It's on sale.
Business Pete.
It's on sale. It was 40% off.
Message Business Pete, get the credit card and put it on there.
Well, my point of this is a more valuable pool than the PGA Tour. SSG puts $1.5 billion into. Did you see this pool? Which they're hammering you over the head with a pop-up. We love your enthusiasm for our FedEx Cup pool. Did you see what they give you if you enter the PGA Tour Zone pool?
No.
Thousands of entries pop up when you open their app all week. A $300 gift card to the PGA Tour Superstar.
Oh my God. What?
Not 500 Dratty like us. This is the PGA Tour. They're marketing this thing.
Organization.
Anyway.
I mean, most of these, like it's the March Madness thing, you get $1 million or whatever.
$300 PGA Tour Superstore. Credit. They're their FedEx Cup pool.
God, we decided to do this like a week ago and we got a better prize. That's sad.
We're throwing bobbleheads in. We got Dratty, but thank you for your response to that. All right, let's get to it.
Who'd you go with at the bottom rung for your entry?
I don't remember. I don't Rose maybe or Dunlap. I can't remember.
You didn't go
Who'd
with
you
Spieth.
take?
I took just the guy.
Did you?
Yeah.
How's he doing today? There's been a lot of content about him. I mean, he literally could be like 2 over. It's just probably even par. So, but I keep seeing tweets and stuff. He's 2 under through 11.
Tired of the content around Spieth.
I'm kind of getting there with you. Like, what is this anymore? You know, I don't know. If
we get it, he talks a lot.
If he's shooting 63 every 10th time, or I don't know, might be a little easier and interesting. He's never like not in the fight a lot anymore. So
yeah.
Anyways, we'll see what he plays next year. We now have the official schedule out from the PGA Tour.
It's a
complete overhaul.
Wholesale changes.
Topsy-turvy. They threw it in the bottle.
Don't even recognize it.
There's additional events. There's signature events. There's signature legacy events. And then there's just full field events is what we're just calling, I guess, the other stuff. It's pretty much the same. The signatures are the same. Memorial switches back to not being the week before the U.S. Open, is now 2 weeks before. Canadian Open gets jammed. RBC just completely jammed after several years of getting screwed over by merger news and other stuff. And Liv's launched the 1 year. That's screwed. RBC, I guess, extended on a 1 year deal, just which I mean doesn't sound like they're wildly enthusiastic.
I'm sure
they're just doing a 1 year.
Even more enthused when they saw where their spot came in.
So that's about it. The signature events are the same. I think pretty much you've got your 3 player hosted events with Bay Hill, Riv, and Memorial. And then that Pebble stays. Not, we did Phoenix, Pebble, Nance versus the first few years back when it was, I think, just called an or designated, I should say. Designated was Phoenix, signature was Pebble. Pebble stays there. It's still very busy. A lot of events going on. 36 event regular season. That does not include the fall. Not a lot of new courses in there at Philly Cricket, as we already reported earlier, for the Truist Championship in early May in Philly. And that's it. You've got signature still the week right after the U.S. Open, the week right after the Open. No, the Masters, I should say, the Masters and the U.S. Open, and the week right before the PGA. So Philly to Charlotte is what we'll do next year. Any reaction to this?
I mean, I saw a lot of people get up in arms about this, and I think to a certain extent, I think this is what I mean, I didn't expect anything different. If I'd asked everybody that got upset, do you think you're going to see wholesale changes on the PGA Tour at this point for next year? I don't think anybody would have been, should have been surprised by how similar this looks. They've made very little progress, no matter what Jay Monahan says. Like, they haven't done. I think like last year they talked about how maybe this year, this schedule release, you might start to see some changes. Now it feels like that's going to be next year. I think that's the year they're targeting. I believe there was a quote a couple weeks ago about that, maybe next year. But to me, the question back to you is do you believe that anything's ever going to change at this point?
No, I'm less and less inclined to believe that. I think this is a pretty radical change from 5 years ago, signature events, by PGA Tour standards, I should say. That's a radical sort of change to the quote unquote model. I think the PGA Tour playoffs have been improved by the 70 cutoff. I think that was a pretty significant change for their postseason by PGA Tour standards. We'll talk about Monahan spoke yesterday. And, he said, I think that's fair when they said that there's not going to be a merger, or that it's not really on the horizon. But I don't know if the question also threw in 26 and 27. And maybe he wasn't addressing those hypotheticals, but he said, with the schedule release now indicate that there's not going to be anything with LIV at least through next year or 26 or 27. He said, I think that's fair. Maybe he was just addressing the next year part of the question, but 26 and 27 is a long ways off to have nothing really done in terms of LIV. And what I gathered from it is to bring it back to, is anything ever going to change? They're kind of hit a little bit of a comfort zone right now. I think they're feeling themselves a little bit. I think it's probably a little less hair on fire. Oh shit. Like it was maybe a year ago or 2 years ago, certainly. I think they've got that strategic sports group, quote unquote. I think the term used was mind share at one point. They've got the mind share going on with those guys, and certainly they've got their money. The board may not be operating seamlessly or rowing as one, but I think compared to prior moments in this schism and uncertainty, they're feeling not too bad about themselves. Like they've come out almost on the other side here. That could change in December. Who knows? But that's what I gather. Just to kind of reiterate what you talked about. Did you think anything was going to change?
I also do think there's a wait and see, and whether it's a smart strategy or not with like what's LIV going to look like next year. They have a lot of contracts that are up, I believe, 3-year deals. The Saudis are pulling back money from the NEOM project, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And some other big projects. I don't think, this is a very small blip on the radar comparatively, but I think there is like a little bit of a, like, let's see how this plays out. Whether that's a good idea or not, outside of purses, I think golf. So I think this is an interesting thing to look at. If I was the PGA Tour, golf has seen a unprecedented growth over the last couple of years in popularity.
Recreation. Yeah.
This is the sport as a whole.
Yeah.
Every aspect of golf business is in a really good spot. And you were going to run out of money. And you took the money and viewership's down.
Sometimes.
I don't necessarily think that's like a good sign. In general, the only thing that's up are purses. You just paying players more.
A lot more
To
rate like a Central Michigan versus Akron college football game. And like those are the ratings if you're talking about a lot of these events.
Yeah, so you're paying players more and the ratings are not going up. Like, to me, that's not really like, you shouldn't be puffing your chest out. You shouldn't be excited.
Yeah.
You have sponsors leaving. You have less and less sponsors capable of flipping these bills. I just like, I don't know. I think there's a lot of confidence and I don't know if they have people there to execute on ideas. I think there are some good ideas that are kicked around. But do you have like the people to execute it? Like what the big idea is, the Creator Classic?
I wouldn't say that's a big idea. I mean, it's a separate thing they're trying. Yeah.
And the Creator Classic, you're going to pump up these people that are then going to go make more money on their own,
Yeah, I'm not sure what. Yeah.
I guess I'm just like, I just don't think like they should be comfortable at this point. And I think like, listen, the game of golf, like if I'm the majors, I'm ecstatic. Because my term is just every day that this just prolongs, my terms get more valuable and theirs get less valuable.
I mean, the thing you said about like, did you expect any change? And they're waiting on the Saudis to see what happens. Well, like what sucks is what in fact is the case is next year Bryson DeChambeau is not in their events. John Rahm is not there. Like that is like what if you feel more comfortable about the existential threat, great. But your product is still diminished without some of those players.
And they got guys coming off the books. So they got guys that are coming off the books. Maybe we won't have some.
Yeah.
Who are they going to replace them with? Yeah. Are they going to, like,
yeah,
I'd be nervous if I was the tour. I'd be wondering like who they are. They might end up being nobodies, but I think like, I don't know. I wouldn't feel great if I was the PGA Tour. I would be a little bit like, I understand being patient and kind of trying to allow things to play out a little bit. But at the same time, I don't think there should be a lot of reasons to be super bullish about what you've achieved when, like, for the most part, you've missed the boat on YouTube to date. There's been this huge rise in YouTube golf, and you've got like all these rights to the best players in the world.
The Creator Classic.
Well, that's what I don't understand is why you've got the best players in the world with their rights, their media rights. Like how come you can't create compelling YouTube content on your own?
Because they can't tell a guy to finish when it's 8:45 and there's 6 minutes of golf left because he tells him to go pound sand. I'm picking up my ball and going home. They're not going to get him on YouTube. Let alone telling Matt Kuchar to play on YouTube. I'm not saying you'd want that, but just to put a bow on it, this is sort of the puff in the chest enthusiasm that I got. I love the spot we're in. I love the opportunities in front of us. This is Jay Monahan. If you had told me a year ago that I'd be sitting here talking to all of you and we'd have a partner in SSG with the amount of experience in sport and business world and capital behind them now integrating into our businesses, to having that level of alignment with our players, I'd invite you to ask any player who served as a player director or served on our player advisory council or some committees on our player advisory council. I'd say we've heard from a lot of people on those councils and committees who've been sort of all over the place. I mean, Jimmy Dunn would be one, I would say. Rory at other times. Tiger, like we've heard from a lot of, like, I would go ask them. I think we could. I think we've heard a lot of mixed messages and a lot of up and down moments. So side point.
I think people have been extraordinarily frustrated that have been in those positions.
The level of input and engagement that we're experiencing and benefiting from, and ultimately our fans are going to benefit from, is as high as I've ever seen. Not just for me, but for the entire team. That's really inspiring. He talked about how the level of engagement and input from players is extraordinary. I would just say the word extraordinary doesn't necessarily a positive connotation. Could just be that means a bunch of guys are yelling. Like I think he meant it positively, but I read it. It could mean anything at any point. But he is very concerned. I just want to note he's very concerned about the fans. See, the fans are coming first. They had over 30,000 responses to a some sort of survey. You get a $5 gift card to Superstore for that one, I guess. I don't know. But it's really high and really strong.
God, they gave $5 gift card to
everybody. I'm joking. That was
they can only give 1,000 to
a joke. That was a joke. One thing I did say, they're all in on their model. Like I said, you can feel the energy and effort, and he's all pumped up. But maybe why he was so excited, he said, when you think about this tournament, FedEx, you think about St. Jude, and you got to listen to it. And you think about Memphis, it really is part of the heart and soul of the PGA Tour. Excited to get underway here. Memphis, I'm sorry, is not a part of the heart and soul of the PGA Tour. Like, when did that happen? FedEx is a part of the heart and soul of the PGA Tour. They play in Memphis because FedEx is there. And that one just like blew my mind. They said, when you think about Memphis, it's the heart and soul of what the PGA Tour is. I just like, that's never been the case until like 3 years ago. It's FedEx that has brought them there, and everybody is there starting the playoffs. I would not say the level of enthusiasm is high. I'm not going to say it's low. It's just, you've got Scottie Scheffler comes out, quote unquote, number one player in the world. You're going to be probably your player of the year. Says it's silly. What he talked about. That's his term for what he's endeavoring upon this month.
Tough.
It's silly.
It's tough to hear that.
Now, I'll say this in the interest of fairness. It seems like what he was calling silly is saying this is a season-long race.
Yes.
For the FedEx Cup.
I think this is the problem. They call it a playoff, but it's a season-long race.
Like,
I think
playoff is Patrick Mahomes turns his ankle and he can't win. And Scottie referenced how he could be 30th if he strained his neck and can't play or something. I
think that what they're confused about here, what the players don't understand, is that the tour has geared this playoff to be a season-long race and not a playoff. And I think Scottie made some great points. Like, at the end of Wyndham, and this is how you fix both the Comcast Business Tour top 10 and the playoffs. This is how you fix both of them. You have to make the playoffs the playoffs. They have to be like everybody starts at 0. And it's a real playoff.
You just get in.
And then if you make the Wyndham this big like cash event for the end of the season, guess what? If like Scottie and Xander are close, they're probably playing the Wyndham or the Comcast Business top 10. All of a sudden that might, like, if it's like, oh, I could win $10 million more money than if I go play and win than if I finish second. They all of a sudden would be like, whoa, maybe the season ending, the Comcast Business top 10 could end in Memphis at the FedEx St. Jude. And maybe this solves like a lot of problems for the tour. And then you have like the playoffs, and then you go to the FedEx playoffs and you make the playoffs really cool. And it's everybody starts at 0, and it's cool storylines. Like, here's this guy, here's Siwoo Kim battling. Now, like, people might be upset that Siwoo Kim wins the FedEx Cup playoffs, but it's a cool 3-event sprint. It's a different tournament. It's a tournament that we don't have like over 3 weeks. We don't have any of that. And all of a sudden, everything has an identity. It's understandable. It's like, it would be super easy to understand if they did a playoff and everybody started at 0. Right now, I'm like, oh, Scottie Scheffler's up 2,000 FedEx Cup points.
No one knows what that means. No one knows what they need to get to 50th, to get to next week. Yeah. It's hard to decipher.
It's like, okay, if it's week 1, if you finish in the top 20, if you finish in the top 50 of this event, then you're in, the next week. And if it's week 2, it's like, oh, I have to be in the top 30. Like, it just makes more sense. But this is the issue. And this is why I don't have a lot of faith at this point in the organization, is that they've proved completely incompetent to understanding like how to put together an interesting competition.
No.
They're incapable.
You look at the schedule. Well, they just have too many Masters to serve. There's too many conflicts, and that's why we end up with the playoffs. I did a local radio today. My guys in DC, and they were like, they like golf. They're golfers. Don't follow. Like, why are we going to like Memphis and somewhere next week in Atlanta? What happened to like New York and Boston and Chicago? Like, what happened to that? I was like, well, like FedEx happened, and like BMW and Coca-Cola and the Southern Company. Like, it's not about like the competition or the product or what. Maybe like it's about like there's too many entanglements. So it was an interesting perspective of like golf fans, but not diehards like us. So I'll just reiterate, like the real wild proposal is that like the whole season should end at the players. Like, we should redo it. We should do the whole thing over. Like, I don't know. Just looking at the schedule, looking at sort of the burnout that comes in August, looking at the schedule release they did yesterday. I thought Rory had some interesting comments of like, you kind of can work through some things for 3 months. Then it's 6 months you just like manage with what you got, which is, the majors and however many freaking signature events that are now crammed in there. And then you have 3 more months to work on things again. So I don't know if he's talking like January, February, March, or like kind of December, January, February. You work on it, and then you got to hang on for 6 months, manage with whatever you got at that point, and then you get 3 more. Like, I think we need to rejigger the whole calendar, but I don't know. That's not going to happen. There's so much promise in that proposal, in my opinion. Starting somewhere internationally and then coming around with the usual West Coast swing into the players. So
let me ask you this question: do you believe that the PGA Tour actually can be fixed? We have spent.
Does it need to be
we
fixed?
Have spent, well, this is we have spent.
Just is what it is.
Yeah, like, is it just, hey,
it might be okay.
It's got none of the 6 most interesting golf tournaments of the year, and that's what it is. It's just the mediocre golf tournaments in a calendar year.
A lot of money. They didn't put the purses on the schedule release for next year. That's a departure. So interest does not mean equal money. So
is that what it is? Like, it's just the fact that they're the number 6, through 54 or whatever the hell number it is. It's the 6th through 54th most compelling professional golf events of the year. And I might put the Korn Ferry Tour finals ahead of a lot of them. I might put the season-ending Korn Ferry event ahead of a lot of them. I might put Q School's final round ahead of a lot of tournaments on the PGA Tour calendar.
To that point, parent question to all the players was, would you take Scottie's year or Xander's year at this point?
What was the answer?
Hovland was like 2 majors. I'll take that. That sounds nice. Rory, without apparent hesitation, Scottie's. And this may just be from where Rory sits as needing the 4th leg. I don't know. Says, I think winning the Masters, an Olympic gold medal, winning whatever it is 6 times, it's pretty hard to top that. So an interesting 2 perspectives from Rory, another one from Victor. They're both incredible years. I don't know. Maybe it's picking nits. I'd probably go with Xander's 2 majors.
I think I would take Scottie's. I mean, he's been the best. It's like, I think the thing to me is like, Scottie's without a doubt the best player in the world this year.
To put a bow on this, is anything that happens in the next 3 weeks change your answer? Possibly change your answer for either one of these guys? Okay, and there we go.
You?
No, but they'll try to tell us it does if something happens to one of them.
I'm still hoping for my scenario here. That was Scottie win, Scottie
30th.
win, Scottie win, Scottie win. I'll settle for like an 8th. Scottie win, 8th at the Net Championship. Finishes 8th. I think this. I always just root for things that could completely blow up the FedEx Cup playoffs. And this is,
they've been blown up 15 times in their 17 years.
They got to keep trying. They got to keep trying. You can't quit trying because nothing's worked. All right.
I got it.
But like, I'm getting to the point where I'm not sure I believe that the PGA Tour can ever be anything great.
All right. It's a big discussion. Probably not for the 33-minute mark. But I think like it's very dependent on events becoming exciting. Something like, honestly, like Matt Kuchar acting like a nut job, or Scottie and Xander trading blows. It's like very dependent on, I don't know, exciting something happening. Does that make sense? It's margin for error is
more
smaller.
Than makes sense.
Margin for error is so much smaller than a Masters that can just be the Masters, obviously, or Ryder Cup. Even when the Ryder Cup's not close, people are into those.
Like, so. I would you be more excited about the tour if they got it down to like 160 exempt players?
No.
I think they have like about 250
sure.
now.
I guess more excited, but still 160 seems This is the thing. If we're compensating, like you said, I've got a lot of some Bezadenhout pushback, but like, I don't know. He's going to make $6 million this year. And is he materially like important to the product of the PGA Tour and its value? I don't know, bro. He's going to make $6 million or something. That's just so like when you tell me if they go to 160, sure, I guess, but you're going to have a lot of it's an interesting model. So it seems lucrative. You got $1 billion in equity and smart people putting money into it. So, but it's playoff fever, playoff time. We're off and running in Memphis. I don't know. I saw Chris Kirk was up there at the top. We'll be into it. Dialed in.
Playoff P. Is he off and running?
Playoff P, my pick this week.
I think Playoff P likes his nickname.
T63.
He likes his
nickname.
He likes his nickname. I commented from the Fried Egg account on his reel.
Nickname.
But Playoff P, and he liked it.
Well, he's showing up like the original Playoff P in Indiana in his early days at the Clippers.
How about Playoff P taking a pop at the golf courses? Taking a run at the golf courses.
What do you do? I missed that.
PJ, you got the quotes around? I know you got the quotes around.
Oh, what do you say? It's just like Target golf or something like that?
Yeah, it's Target golf. Like there's a few places, basically a few places on tour where we have to actually think about where we're hitting it and where we're leaving it. You've called out Riviera.
Quote, my favorite golf course on tour is quite the opposite. Riviera is my favorite golf course of the year. There's no hazards, and it's all about leaving your golf ball in the correct spots and playing the correct shapes into certain hole locations. This quote is more Target golf. And this week is more Target golf, end quote.
Playoff P's rise in the rankings.
Someone asked Rory, like, you've gotten into architecture, like a little bit. Trying to ask him about Andrew Green and East Lake, and he talked about that. And then they asked him later, it's like, he just played 9. Can you give us some thoughts on the golf course? His response, yeah, look. Which when you start an answer, yeah, look. When you start it like that, you're just sort of searching for, how do I say this? Do I really put the knife in and twist, or do I just kind of walk by?
It's a thing. You're thinking about how you want to phrase something.
Yeah, look, we've been coming back to Southwind for so long that I wouldn't say bubbling with enthusiasm on this, for so long that it doesn't really change much from year to year. You sort of know what to expect when you get here. Bermuda, pretty grainy around the greens, very good green surfaces, some of the best greens we putt on all year. It's sort of one of these golf courses where it demands a little more precision than maybe some other golf courses that we play throughout the year. And if you keep your ball in play and on the fairway, you're always going to have a decent chance to make birdies and shoot a bunch of scores. So precision, a little bit of Target golf. Yeah, look, it is what it is. We've been coming back for so long.
That reminds me of when Chantel McCabe asked ZB about the architecture at Glen Abbey.
What was the question? Yeah, it's it's good. We like it, or it's a fun.
I think he says something like it's all right in front of you. Hey PJ, we got a FedEx Cup fact of the day.
We do.
What is it?
We have many, actually. It's a multi-pronged fact.
These aren't presumed. These are bulletproof facts.
All right,
these are researched. So I was asked to pull just a guy's average FedEx Cup finish, not including this year. We're giving everybody all of these numbers, not including this year.
Was this just a message from God, or who asked you to do this?
It was a friend of the program
asked you to do such that? All right,
a listener submission.
All right, yeah, sure.
Just a guy average FedEx Cup finish. 25.1. So then the listener
that comes with a win. He won it.
That comes
15.
That comes with a
All
1.
Right.
Yeah. So
that's his average.
The listener suggested some other players
illuminating here
to compare him to. Xander Schauffele, average FedEx Cup finish.
This is amazing.
4.7. Has one finish below 5th.
The Earl of Eastlake. Guy dominates there.
Justin Thomas.
He's the real playoff P.
Xander might be the real playoff P. But let's just go to playoff P. 16.7. Started slow. Justin Thomas, another comparable to just a guy, 15.2. Rory,
another former winner,
15.8.
Wow,
Hideki Matsuyama,
what's pulling Rory down? Early years.
Rory had early years, and then the year after he won, he was like 60th. The first time he was like 60th. That's pulling it down.
Could be the dual schedule there.
The dual
world player could be being a world player.
Or he just didn't care one year. I don't know.
Hideki Matsuyama, 18.9.
He had the injury year, right?
That was 15. With the ankle?
Yeah, the ankle year.
Yeah, that would have been 15. Go ahead, TJ.
Hideki, 18.9. The world player, Billy Horschel, 52.8.
The world player.
Sung Jae Im.
Wait, important with Billy. Slow start, right? First 2 years.
First 2 years were in the hundreds. And then if you remove those, he's up to like 32nd. So it gets him 20 places.
So he basically, if you take out his first 2 years as a pro, he's basically Jordan Spieth.
He's basically Jordan
Spieth.
Oh,
God. Get out of here. I mean, that was like a sign of a real playoffs when it was like, guy was like going to be, he was on the cut line from the playoffs at TPC Boston, I think. If I'm not mistaken.
As I have
wins
found
it and then wins the whole thing later.
As I was looking on eBay for his bobblehead, that fact is on the back of his bobblehead, that he came back from a late season slump to go T2 win in the FedEx Cup playoffs. So
playoff
there
B.
Go.
There you
playoff
go.
B. Playoff BB. Baton boy. Playoff baton boy.
Finally, Sung Jae Im, who was discussed on Wednesday's episode on how is he in ninth. He's at 15.2 for his career FedEx.
Just body bagging Spieth.
So
that was the body bagging Spieth and average FedEx Cup position.
The listener submitted
blame his wrist.
FedEx Cup fact.
I can't believe a listener would think about submitting such a question.
Here's our listener submitted quick TPC Initech fact of the day. Spent several years in public accounting doing tax consulting. We worked with FedEx in the friendly confines of the office park at TPC Initech. The place is truly unbelievable. There's a cafeteria in one of the buildings that overlooks the course, and employees make friendly wagers sitting there with each other on what random golfer would make on what hole. Yeah, you got a little spit take from you there. Ron took a bad time to take a sip of water.
To take a sip of water.
So when we joke about this being in a literal freaking office park, I would just like to say nothing is purely parody here. There's truth in all of this, that you have people literally wagering from the cafeteria on what, Adam Schenk is going to do on hole number 5. So that's it.
Can I ask you a question? What's the sports equivalent to TPC Initech being a playoff host? Like what would be the equivalent of something like this?
Trying to think.
Would it be like the final, like the round of 64 and 32, them playing one in like a G League stadium?
Maybe. Or I was gonna say this could be like when Tulane hosts a first round playoff game this year as the G5 champion.
Because of the 12-team playoff.
Yeah. Tulane is going to host like Alabama.
I think that's
that's
got character.
Yeah,
and
this isn't sweet.
I don't know. But you're playing in like a tiny little state. Alabama's going to go to Tulane.
No, what I would say, it's more of like at the
Illinois is
dome.
going to go to Tulane.
Illinois. Bielema, Bird era. I'd say it's more like the dome. Like when you have this big dome, neutral site, just completely like sanitized,
devoid of all
it's just Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and there's everything about the character.
The Chick-fil-A kickoff game.
I think this is worse than that. It's worse than that. It's way worse than that. Because this is a literal office park, an office park overlooking the play, an office park, a
They're
soulless
betting in the cafeteria.
office park.
Oh, one thing that's not soulless though is your golf forever routine each and every morning.
That's right. That's how you fill up the tank. This is a way you can fill up the tank. How you can feel better going into the day. Getting it done right at the top of the day is so good. You just feel like so much better the rest of the day.
Yep, it's good. It's great if you got to go have the soul taken out of you. You got to sit at a desk all day. You know, the only sunshine and brightness in your days when you get to wager on the golfers going by the cafeteria window. If you got to go to that, just make sure you get your golf forever routine done before you head to work, and certainly before you head to your golf round. This is a customizable program. There's middle tees, back tees, forward tees based on how old you are, based on how fit you are. Just try to incremental gains. You could be a guy trying to hit it 400 yards. You're all, jacked up, or you could just be trying to stay limber and loose and have a little more rotational flexibility and a little bit of power. There's customizable. There's a bazillion. Don't quote me on that actual number. Workouts in the app for all different kinds of skill levels, but all different kinds of strength. Obviously, targeting different areas of the body. It comes with the training aids that you can purchase off the website. This is Scottie's thing, man. Scottie, like, candidly, the guys who built it were like, I don't know if we'd have the loot to bring Scottie on board at this point, given how much he's blowing up. But Scottie, like, naturally found this when he was having some, I think it was knee trouble. Like, this helped him, and he's been all in on it. You go to golfforever.com, use the code EGG, E-G-G. You save an extra $50 on any training system package when you use the code EGG at golfforever.com. Again, awesome. Like, this has been a great partner. I love having this, and it's a kind of good small company, golf company that our listeners should support. All right, what's our Golf Forever golf advice? Do you want to? We got a lot of
lots of cart boy. It might be cart boy advice.
A lot of pushback on the cart boy stuff. Do you want me to start with one? What do you want me to do here?
Well, what is the feedback? What
the feedback is like,
listen, being a judge is a tough job. Sometimes you make decisions that people don't like, and you know what?
Sometimes you put murderers back on the street and they immediately kill somebody. We might have missed one, I guess, with the cart boy.
I don't know if we did miss one. I'm not apologizing for this. I'm happy to apologize about questioning where Ricky Fowler was, but you know what?
What are you gonna say, PJ?
I think getting a young kid fired from a job because he didn't know what to do with the speaker. He got caught in a bad spot, a spot of bother.
I think we were a little too passive and exculpatory with the kid. That said, like, this is from Brian, who I think is going a little too hard the other way. I recognize the name, longtime listener, follower. 53, 2 teenagers ready to fight people who steal my stuff. Been a listener since almost day one. Own merch. Listen to almost every episode. It's the first time a segment made me really angry. Some kid steals your $200 speaker and your shrug shoulders emoji. He lied as well, and your shrug shoulders emoji. Is this what you're going to teach our kids? No, I'm not going to teach my kids to do this. Like, it's not a one-to-one thing. I think it's if my kid came home and did this, I would kick his head. I would scream at him and tell him to take it back.
This is golf forever feedback segment here.
I 100% would have told him off, and yes, I would have told the general manager. How many other people is he stealing stuff from? The permissiveness and hand-waving and meekness you showed on this one really has me questioning both of your characters. Just terrible. I promise you, this is not like, I don't think this is okay to steal people's stuff, nor my kid did this. I would be furious. I think there's a gray area sometimes when stuff is left behind, and obviously we weren't there yet. And I don't know, when the kid is 20 years old, I may be like, just give it back to me and we won't talk about, like, he refused to give it back to him. Apparently he had to get to the point where, like, take it out of your pocket. So I guess our character is being maligned based on our on the spot feedback without consideration. I think if I had to reread it again,
It'd be a boring segment if you knew what direction we were gonna go. Sometimes you gotta zig, sometimes you gotta zag.
All right, so we got a lot of cart boy stories like this. You want me to go first? Similar kind of cart.
Here.
All right. I mean, another one. I'll read it later. Whatever. I'll read it later. I think there's some toss-ups on this one. Anyways, maybe that one wasn't it. Sorry. What do you got?
I work in a pro shop at a golf course in Indiana. Our cart staff has complained about one specific member of the course that takes a cart out and is always the last one to turn his cart back in, and oftentimes is past cart curfew. I've told him many times when he comes in the pro shop to check in that his cart is due back at 9 or 8:30 as the days get shorter. He comes to the course around 5 to 6, which is fine, and then he goes on and hits the range until 7:30. Then he goes to the course and he plays 9 holes, returning his cart at 9 or sometimes later. I know that the cart staff's job is to stay until the last cart is returned, but I've always been one to think that members should have some awareness that people are waiting on them when they take a cart out that late. Is this a non-issue and the folks at the cart staff should just suck it up, or should there be something that further said / done to this member to make sure he returns his cart sooner?
I mean, as apparently we leaned last week, I think the two of us, having worked at the golf course, I think we're going to lean towards the side of the cart boy staff, caddies.
I'm not leaning towards the cart boys here. Cart boys need to this is part of the game. You know?
Well, yeah, I agree. But do you want to be the member? How comfortable are you with being the last guy in the cart in at 9:25? Are you okay with that? Are you a little awkward, a little uncomfortable?
Here's what I think.
You and Matt Kuchar.
Here's what I think. This is what I do. Yeah, I was in this situation a lot. I worked the bag room, caddied at a course. You know what I did at 8 p.m. every night when there were carts still out there?
Crack the beer.
Yeah. Did know where the fridge was. Did know where the restaurant fridge was. I would bring towels. It was right next to where I picked up the towels. Yeah. Just layer those towels with beers.
Oh yeah.
But anyways, sometimes crack a beer.
A bill. Yeah.
Oftentimes I would shut down those doors, lock those doors of the bag room up, hop in a cart myself with my golf clubs and go play a few holes of golf.
Yeah.
Come back, see the cart sitting there with the bag on there. Or I'd be out on the course. I could see where the member was with the cart. I head in right when he comes in. This is ridiculous that you're complaining about this. Like, think about the member too. He's coming out, like, clearly the member's coming out after work. Maybe he's after dinner a lot of times. It could be if he's got young kids after bedtime. And he's just trying to enjoy his life, trying to enjoy that he's a member of a club. He's playing some golf. So you know what? Like, I think like a lot of times when you're in a job, you forget about like the enjoyment of people. Like, and you're in a service industry. And it's like a restaurant when somebody's sitting at a table. It's like, I know the kitchen's shutting down. I know you're trying to close up, but people are enjoying sitting there, having a conversation with people they probably haven't seen for a long time. And part of the job is, you know what? Like, we close at this time, but sometimes we might run 15 minutes late.
Yeah, there's a line to walk for sure. I think don't be hustling people out. I'd say, like, if you're the member, try to be cognizant of the staff a little bit. Don't come in late all the time. All right. Two, I don't know if we diverged on that one, but I'm personally not super comfortable always coming in last. All right, next one and last one. Another.
What if that's the only time he can play golf?
It probably would be for me. Yeah, I would push it. Yeah,
like at this point in my life, like the only time I would think about playing golf by myself would be like, okay, my wife's doing bedtime. It's the middle of the summer.
Glorious.
I'm hopping out and I'm playing 9 holes at while the sun goes down. Like that
It's
to
part of
me
the
is
gig.
like
Yeah,
like
part
what
of the
I
gig.
what I dream about doing.
Yeah, part of the
Maybe
gig.
ask the guy to walk.
Could do that. It takes a while to get long, when you're rushing to beat darkness, I guess.
I mean, how slow is this guy playing 9 holes if he's getting off the range at 7:30, then getting done at 9:30?
Yeah, that's a slow
Solo
time for
with
a
a
single.
cart.
That doesn't compute. All right, a predicament worth contemplating the last 24 years is the subject line. 39, 2 kids, missed the days of thinking I could hold my own in a fight. This is quite a story here. The year was 2000. I still think about this one to this day. My best friend and I had the best job in golf at 15 years of age. The cart boy and range picker. Pre-driver's license, driving around and cleaning carts, free golf, what could be better? Most days in the summer were consumed by either working 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. shift, playing golf after, or the 2 p.m. to close shift and playing golf prior. This story involves the latter. All right, so they're on the
So they're playing
2 to close shift. They're playing before 2.
before. Okay.
In the pre-460cc days, my friend and I would swing as hard as humanly possible with my 975D to see how far a Titleist professionals could get from the back tees. One day before afternoon shift, we were playing 9 holes and lashing as hard as we could at the ball. With about 10 minutes to spare, we teed up 2 balls in the 17th hole prior to clocking in. I went first, hitting a high draw, ending up a little too close to the group on the adjacent 11th hole. My buddy goes next, pulling his Mark McGuire swing out and heading straight for the group on 11. We avoided the adjacent group like the plague, as any 15-year-old would at the time, lodging a tee in the cart's governor, going about 40 miles an hour and rushing to clock in on time. We noticed the group trying to flag us down, but our adolescent instinct took us faster and farther away from the group on the 11th. We avoided the situation, ended up clocking in, and went to the pro shop to hang with the assistant pro after washing down a few carts. Seconds after, a group comes into the pro shop with one poor guy nearly unconscious, a towel covering a pool of blood coming out of his shoulder. Pool of blood coming out of his shoulder. The group had mentioned they were bombarded with 2 balls from the 17th tee. The first one rolling up to the group, and the second one hitting their playing partner on the fly. Thwack. So second one hit him. The assistant pro looked at both of us and asked my friend, Mark McGuire, to grab a cart to try to track down the accomplices. My friend and I looked at each other with an immediate certainty to keep our mouths shut. Mark McGuire and the assistant pro proceeded to look for quote-unquote us all over the back 9. After 30 minutes of searching, it was determined the 2 kids were long gone. Little did they know, both kids were clocked in, cleaning carts, and sworn to secrecy. They hoped they wouldn't get caught. As we've aged, my friend and I look back at the story and wonder what would have happened if we'd owned up to the laser hook into left field. The ultimate question, as a 15-year-old kid, knowing the victim wasn't going to sustain life-threatening injuries, would you have confessed to the crime? Keep up the great content. I got to add this. Keep up the great content. PJ is an amazing addition to the show. Curious to hear all 3 takes. So PJ, we're getting a lot of positive feedback on PJ, by the way.
PJ, you're closest to
15.
the age. Yeah.
I am closest to 15.
I mean,
sure,
but closer than us. Sure. I mean, this is an all-time story. I love the fact that he's out looking for quote-unquote us.
What's the question here? As
a 15-year-old, would you have confessed? Knowing that the guy didn't have life-threatening injuries, as he throws in. We're going to have people impugning our character again based on how we answer this one, I think. But who knows? PJ, what are your thoughts?
I don't know. They clearly had a plan on how to get away with it. This was, I don't want to say it was premeditated.
They didn't have a plan. They were reacting in the moment.
Yeah, but they were
driving off.
ready. They were ready to go. I wouldn't have been that quick on my feet. I would have been paralyzed in pure fear. So I guess I would have had to I would have said something to the guy, I think.
That
right?
you did it.
After I hit him, I would have.
Like obviously now, like hitting somebody with a golf ball on an adjacent hole is not a crime. Like it happens. Like you can go up to them and be like, "I'm sorry." Like I don't doesn't sound like I yelled for.
Yeah,
but you're 15, you're rushing in. So, things are moving very fast. I think probably when I saw he didn't have life-threatening injuries, and obviously if he did have life-threatening injuries, either one, I probably would have just said, sorry, that was me. I think I would have been okay with that. The fact that he's got a bloody shoulder, does the degree of injury change anything here for you, Andy? Does that do anything? Because he's just got a bloody shoulder.
15-year-old me is doing the same thing these kids did. Like I'm
it's an
not
all-time story.
I would be in full. How do I avoid this? Because I think it's worse. Like the problem was that they drove away.
That at that point,
yes.
Yeah. They were trying to be flagged down. Yeah.
At that point, then they might lose their jobs because they're representatives of the golf course. They were screwing around, had the governor off,
taking full cuts with their 975.
Didn't yell for.
No.
And hit a guy. It's like if they went up and said sorry, they would have been fine, right?
I think, at that point you're okay.
At this point in my
life,
be
pissed, but you just.
I would have just gone up and said sorry. I hit into a group of like older women last year. It was awful. I had to go say sorry.
Yeah.
And it sucked, and people, they were mad at me and everything, and I got bad looks, but it's like it's not a big deal in the long, grand scheme of life.
No.
But like when you're 15, you just don't know this stuff. You're an idiot. Like you're a complete idiot I would say that you're a complete idiot till like age 27.
And then you remain an idiot. You just know you're an idiot at that point.
It's just degrees of idiocy. Well, the problem was once they drove away,
then you couldn't.
Then they've jeopardized their job, and they had no choice. They had no choice as to what they could do. They knew once the people didn't recognize them because they came in.
How did they not recognize them is what I want to know. How many kids are there bouncing around?
Well, so this is the thing. Once they didn't recognize them, they were off scot-free. As long as the two of them stuck to their story. I think like if the person sustained like some serious injuries, if I was one of those kids, I would have like then probably fessed up.
That was
like
me.
if
Yeah. It's still not a crime. I mean, it's still like you're in the field of play there at that point. But driving off, you got to fess up. Certainly, if there's serious injuries, I think
it was big from Mark McGwire, though. I will give him a lot of credit, who had to go out with the pro and go hunt them down for keeping like a straight face the entire time.
Yeah,
I would have been. Just
to keep the jig going.
Yeah. I definitely shout out to Mark McGwire.
Pretty good. Mark McGwire. He's the actual Mark McGwire did a good job of keeping a straight face as he maybe cheated the game there.
Hey,
in
do
the
you guys
90s.
think I've heard a lot of discourse about the steroids boys lately? You think they should be in the Hall of Fame?
As I said with Joseph on Monday, I don't give a shit about Hall of Fame. Sure, fine.
Hall of Fame minute, second one this week.
They're the best players of that era when everybody was doing juice.
That's the thing. How many guys
should be in the Hall of Fame?
How many guys are in the Hall of Fame that just didn't get caught?
A lot of them.
Or in the 1930s, were on some other, or didn't have to play against black players. Like there's just like there's all sorts of like of your era. If you were the best, like you can't start trying to, I don't know, gatekeep on some of that stuff. It seems to me. So big topic here at the end. Minute 4, big baseball topic. All right, I think that does it for our Friday episode. Everyone enjoy your weekends. Enjoy that Memphis FedEx Cup USAM Hazeltine.
I hope somebody's in non-moisture wicking fabric this weekend. That'll be that's like the best moment this event's had.
I saw your boy Dietrich on like second hole today in a shirt.
It was just boss.
He was soaked to this was like 9 something, like second hole, just soaked in the shirt.
Could be a big weekend for Illini golf.
It could. I mean, I feel like I hear that every match play. Every time match play starts.
Buchanan's up 1 through 9 here.
All right, good.
Looking like you might. We got to get through this.
I think you put the mush on Evan Beck and Matt McClain the other day. They missed the cut after you. You better not have done it to Buchanan just now. 1 up through 9. All right.
I mush everybody.
Everyone enjoy your weekends. We'll talk to you on Monday.